next installment of the Goddess Interviews. I'm very, very honored and excited to be interviewing Noreen McDonald. Mary Mcdonald is a healer who has been practicing Reiki, energy work, helping you to find and talk to your angels and spirit guides, and teaching metaphysical workshops for quite some time now. She's very dedicated to following her own path, to remaining true to herself, and to empowering and encouraging others to be able to do that for themselves, and also to be able to drastically change their lives. Her work really encourages you, and especially if you choose to take her metaphysical workshops, her work really encourages you to shift from a perspective that keeps you stuck and feeling very unsafe into a place where you are feeling positive, strengthened, encouraged, and where you are the creator, the co-creator of your experience. And she does this through a series of classes that encourage you to prove to yourself the fact that your thoughts do create your reality, that you are energy, and that you can work with energy, and also to tap into your intuition, to work with your angels and spirit guides, and also dream work. And from that first series of workshops, she then takes you into an advanced series of classes where you really get to dive down deep into these metaphysical aspects, and where you are encouraged to continue on your own path as a healer or as a person just in general. So Noreen's work has greatly encouraged and shifted my own healing work myself, and it's also really encouraged me to step out there and to use my voice and to step into a space as a healer and as a practitioner that's very strong. So it's with great honor and reverence that we step into this interview space, and I am excited because I feel that Noreen is really going to be able to give you some concrete advice and practices and steps that will help you to take these spiritual and metaphysical ideas and beliefs and really incorporate them into your own life and your own practice in a way where you see positive and beneficial results. So please enjoy the interview with Noreen McDonald. Noreen's going to talk about how you can get in touch with her, but feel free to check out her website at noreenmcdonald.com, and you'll find lots of information on there that's very helpful as well. Okay, so we're so excited to have you with us today, Noreen, and to share with us more of your journey as a healer, how you found your path, and how we can be empowered to find our own. So we would love if you would start by sharing some of your story of, how you started out, how you found your path, just sharing some of your story with us.
We'd be glad to, and thank you for asking me to join you. Hello to all of you who are out there and either in your journeys or starting your journeys. It is a wonderful trip and a wonderful part of your life if you can find and trust yourself and trust your intuition. My first real remembrance for me is when I was a senior in high school, and I had started a physics class. I was a math major and taking all advanced classes, and the first week of physics, the professor put an entire wall of the classroom problem that he had given us for homework. When he finished, I had the same exact problem, but I could do it in about half the wall space. And so I showed him, and he immediately told me I was wrong. The other math students, majors, and science folks in the class said, no, you can do it this way. And the physics professor said, absolutely not. And after class, as we were walking out of class, I heard this very deep voice in my head say, drop the class now, because he is going to fail you. I walked immediately. I wasn't startled by the voice. I just went upstairs, went to my guidance counselor, and I dropped the class. I trusted it. Shortly thereafter, as I started driving, and I lived in the Boston area, and I drove all around the area. There's lots of different roads you can take. I learned to ask out loud, which road should I take? And based on what shoulder was open, that would be the shoulder I would take. One would feel blocked, one would feel open, and I would always take that. No, not always. Most of the time I would take that road. And many times, when I didn't listen and I went to the shoulder that was blocked and took that road, I ended up being stuck in a traffic jam, or there was something wrong, and it took me longer to get there no matter what. So I learned to listen and pay attention to the different signs that I was getting. As I was a little bit older, and after my children were born, I started hearing voices and also seeing visions. The first vision I can remember having was I was vacuuming down on the first floor of my house, and had a vision of my son falling down the stairs. He was 2.5 or so at the time. Shut off the vacuum, ran up the stairs, went into the room, everything was fine, walked down the stairs, turned the vacuum on, and my son fell down the stairs. Thereafter, if I had a vision, I made sure that I followed through and changed all the circumstances. When I started hearing more voices and telling me certain roads not to go down, certain as well as not to return to a certain business one day after having been hit, my car being hit by a semi-trailer tractor truck, and then my son went through the bank door window. I heard this voice, if I came back again, I wouldn't be alive. I changed banks that day. I learned to trust that voice, trust those hunches, and I have now done it for over 40 years. I love it. It actually makes my life much simpler and much smoother. Okay. Do you have any questions, Racine? Or it's an inner voice. It's an inner sound. It can be a voice. It can be a picture, a vision. It can be just a knowing. But just the more we trust it,
the clearer
it gets. I'll share a funny story. I was living out in California in the Sierra National Forest area and building a trail system through our community, and I was in charge of some young men for a trail project, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and as I headed out to my truck to go supervise them, I heard from my inner voice say, this very loud voice said, "Go get the Benadryl cream." And I was outside in the house at the time, and I look up in the sky and go, "Excuse me, the Benadryl cream is 80 feet away. That's 160 feet, and I need to be there now. Go get the Benadryl cream." It's 160 feet, I don't have time. Get in the car, the truck drove down, picked up these young men, went to the work site, opened the truck door, and in flies the bee and stings me 3 times. I looked up in the sky and said, "I'm going to get the Benadryl cream. I'm going to get it now." Yes, it is more than 160 feet. And they laughed, I laughed, and I apologized for not listening. And that's important when we don't listen. So they're there to help us. I wouldn't have had to drive another 2 miles to go get cream while it stung. I would have been right on top of it. So enjoy it, have fun with it. They're there to help you.
Okay, so we've talked about you learning to listen and understanding that this was your intuition. Share a little bit, if you would like, about when did you realize you were a healer, or that you were here to help people, and feel empowered and on their own journey?
For the first time I was told a healer, but I was told it was just for myself. I didn't know it was for others. I had a palm reading in the wonderful city of Salem, Massachusetts. And this gentleman read my palm, and he said, if something hurts, just put it on your knee. If you bang up your knee, put your hands on your knees. I didn't realize he was telling me that. But I know forever I've worked with children, and children come to me and just want to be. And Vincent is welcome to come on over, dude. Come on over. And they know healing hands. My pets will just get next to me and just take the energy from my hands. And so in trusting that, I had the opportunity to take wonderful, wonderful classes with Dixie Utarian. She's an incredible, incredible teacher. I spent almost 10 years with her out in California. We went weekly classes and also 1 weekend a month. And in that process, it was really wonderful to work on my issues and release my issues, but also to find out that I could do healing work. That all the work we're doing is part of the healing process. Whether it's a psychic reading, whether it's Reiki, whether it's hands-on, whether it's angel work, whatever it is, it's any part of what we're doing with others is healing work.
Okay. So,
for yourself in your own life, because some people who watch the channel are healers, but some are looking for healing for themselves first. So if you feel comfortable sharing in your life when you've had experiences where you knew you required healing, what did you do when you do? Does that
Right,
make
yeah.
sense?
The most important thing that all of us can do, for number one, to start our journey or continue our journey and stay on our journey, is to meditate. Whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes. But for me, I know I need 20 minutes. And I don't meditate sitting up, and I just go to a very quiet space. I lay down, hands on my heart, 3 deep breaths in and out, relax my body, and then start. My word that I use is peace. Peace on earth, just peace. And within moments, I'm in a very black place. I leave my body. When I come back in my body 20 minutes later, I kind of just come off the couch and fall back down. I'm like, okay, where did I go? But if you can just find quiet space, sometimes for me it's 4 o'clock in the morning that I'm getting messages. But we need to have quiet spaces in our life. We have to find those quiet spaces. They're really, really important for us. So meditation, and if you don't know how, it's okay. Just learn to sit quiet, because your mind wants to control your thoughts. Your mind's become the dictator. The mind wants to be the boss over your heart, and all your heart is what's going to make the decisions. Your heart is going to never ever lie to you. Your mind, what I call it in class, is the salad spinner. Your heart just goes, boom, here's your answer. Here's my answer. So if you can find that quiet time, if you can start just even putting your hands on your heart and asking the questions, and allow your heart to answer it. Listen for your heart. It's really, really important. Does that help a little bit?
That does. So as far as finding our own personal healing, your recommendations are the meditation.
Number one is meditation.
Number one is meditation, and then learning to get out of that thinking space, that
Right.
mental space, and into the heart.
So if you picture, we don't have one here, but if we had a little top that belonged to Vincent, we'd be pushing it down and it would be spinning around. That's your mind. You can't make a good decision when your mind is spinning. But just simply asking your heart, with your eyes closed, hands on your heart, and just say, is this good for me? You'll know whether it is or not instantly, without that spinning going on. And if you say, I think I should, then I know you're using your mind.
And she will call you out on it.
Versus, I feel like I should. I think, no, I don't want you to think, I want you to feel. That's the biggest thing in intuition, in powering yourself, finding yourself, is listen to your heart, feel your heart, have feelings. And that's hard, because a lot of us have put our feelings away for a very long time.
Right. Okay. So I did have another question for you as relating to, divorce or periods of transition in our life. So when you were experiencing a transitional time in your life, which did involve divorce, and your children were very young, I wanted to ask you and to share with those of us who are watching, while you were going through that experience, how did you open up to healing from that and not staying in that space of pain and hurt in the relationship? How did you let that go so that you could continue to grow?
My divorce lasted 4 years. I probably stayed in the marriage 5 or 6 years longer than I should have. But my dad was seriously ill. At times I had 3 or 4 parents or grandparents and in-laws in the hospital. So it was very difficult to find the place and time to process all that I had to. After my dad, in fact, the week that my father died, my father-in-law died on Friday night, my dad died on Sunday, and I knew my marriage was over the following Friday. But I took the time after that to go make a plan. What do I need to do so that I can take care of my sons? What do I need to do for me so that I can go forwards? I knew that the divorce was going to be difficult, and I didn't know how difficult, and I didn't know how long. At the end of it, I made a plan. I went back to school. I got my degree and was able to change my life around for the best for me before and while the process was happening. When my divorce was final. I had a divorce party. I invited 120 people that I wanted to come, not that my in-laws wanted to come, not my parents. In fact, I didn't ask most of my family. I just had friends and wonderful, wonderful acquaintances. And I did my name with a big circle through my married name and crossed that out and invited people for time for change. And I knew it was time for change for me. I loved being alone at that point because there was no one to put me down. There was no one trying to take me down. I could just be myself. When I was in my marriage, I was accused of being so responsible. I'm like, you know what? I don't care about being responsible, but don't tell me I'm wrong if you don't want the responsibilities. So afterwards, I joined organizations. I didn't date. I just hang out with my girlfriends and I. One, we didn't have much money. We'd go out to dinner once a month in Boston for the $9.99 special somewhere. We'd split a bottle of wine at home because we couldn't afford a bottle of wine at a restaurant. But we had fun, we laughed, and we had other people going through the same experiences. I was actually called by my community, we would call the Three Musketeers of the divorcees of our town. I was accused of being the cheerleader of the divorcees. This was back in the 80s. We laughed, and we also worked on getting rid of the anger. There's so much anger, and if you carry that into your next part of your life, it doesn't do you any good. It's really important to get rid of that. So, again, changing my name back to who I was and what I wanted to do, that was really important for me to do. I thought it was going to affect my sons, but one of my sons came home from work and said, "Why aren't you changing your name?" I said, "Well, you're still in school." And they said, "Change it." I actually told my ex that he needed to change his name because I had given his name such a good reputation. So have fun with who you are, what you do, and how you do it, and believe in yourself. Be yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what the divorce allowed me to be, is myself, and start my journey, really start my journey for me.
Right, so you weren't in a space where you were holding on to the pain of that. You chose to just fly.
Yeah, and what happened 6 months after my father-in-law passing and my marriage ending, I went back to bed a couple of mornings in a row, and I got up after the kids went to school, and I said, you know what, this isn't good for me. And I called the health program that I was in at the time, and I called the mental health department, and it took every ounce of energy that I had to do that. And the woman said, well, do you have your referral? And I went, what's a referral? Because they were just starting with that process at the time. And she said, well, you need to call your primary care doctor, and then they call us, and blah, blah. And I went, I couldn't even speak. I used up all the energy I had right then and there. And she said, well, why do you think you should come in? And I told her. And she said, and how long ago? And I said, 6 months. And she went, you waited 6 months to call us? I thought it was tough. Thought I was strong, but I know that I'm not handling this well. She said, can you come in tomorrow at 1? Absolutely. It only took 4 visits with a wonderful counselor, but it was the 4 visits that I needed to just release there were so many layers I couldn't even start. Mm-hmm. And then what I did for a couple of years is went back once a year and checked in. I just talked about where I was going on my path. And that was really important. And talking to a neutral person is incredibly helpful, because so many times we don't take the advice from friends, even though it's good, because they're our friends. They're just saying this for me. It's the unconscious thoughts that you're thinking that person really is just saying this so you hear it. And so when you go to a neutral, good counselor, and if you don't like your counselor, walk out. Trust me, I did it. With a good counselor, you have a chance to find out what you need. It doesn't take long. It shouldn't be a dependent relationship. It's just a relationship to get rid of those top layers so that you can start the process. And when my divorce was finally final, after about 4.5 years, I was a town meeting member in my community, and I was at town meeting that night, and one of the gentlemen that I know from town, I coached his kids and taught his kids, and he said, hey, what's happening? And I said, my divorce is final today. He said, I've known you for 7 years. I didn't know you were married. I said, that's why I'm divorced. So it's okay. If you've been rejected, if you've been put down, You don't deserve that. Absolutely. That's they're taking your power. They want you to be as weak as they are. And if you're a powerful person and even don't know it, they're taking that power to empower themselves. And that's not a good place for anyone to be in.
Okay. So that gives us good information on how to move through difficult transitions.
And again, it's important to make a plan. Right. Don't just do something, well, I got to get out of here. Make a plan. You can work on anything. And there's also so many places for women and children to go today that weren't there. But I didn't need that type of situation for me.
Right.
I just needed to know I was financially capable of taking care of my kids because I knew in the beginning things were not going to be easy.
Right. Okay, so the next question that I had for you, because you are a healer in the community, you're also a teacher in the community, a facilitator. So the next question I had for you is, what has your experience been stepping out into the community in that role? Because a lot of people that watch the channel are healers as well, and they're nervous about that aspect. So what can you share with us about that?
This part of it, or how it? Because kind of
whatever
what I watched,
it's
interesting what's coming to mind is, I started out as a coach, and I was the first woman coach in Massachusetts for the boys soccer division, breaking barriers and getting men and men coaches who wouldn't even shake my hand at the beginning of the game, that shook my hand afterwards, learned that women could be part of that, and so that's part of the healing process, is educating men. And it turned out I was the instructional coach for the coaching clinics for over 100 coaches every spring and fall for our soccer program. I ended up the first president of the soccer program. Woman president of the soccer club is the first woman. Breaking down some barriers. It wasn't per se healing a person, but it was healing the program.
Right.
And also bringing professionalism to the program. And then I ended up playing soccer. I had never played, and I started playing soccer. We had a wonderful group on Sunday mornings, and it was 95% men, 98% men, but the guys asked me to run it. The guys asked me to divide it up because it was neutral and it was fair. There wasn't an ego involved as to who's going to be on whose team.
Right.
So it was such an honor, and I did that for 9 years, year round, working with that. So that was what I saw the first kind of building. And this, we had 32 countries. When we started, we played across the field when we first began, and 8-9 years later, we had 32 countries represented. We had 4 teams, 2 teams on each field playing full field soccer. It was incredible. And I even knew in Spanish whether the ball was going right or left. Had a blast, absolutely had a blast. And again, teaching the community of the sports community that women could play and play strong,
right,
and also be fair and even. So it was pretty awesome. When I ended up going out west, I ran a chamber of commerce for 5 years, and in that started building, and that's what I was being told. And I love to ask. My right side is my earth side work, and my left side is my healing, my spiritual work. And so at that time, when I asked, I was here to build better communities. And in that Chamber of Commerce, the board of directors asked me to build a better community, not to focus on the businesses, but what can we do for our community to make it better for our space. And so we put in trail systems, we put in sidewalks. It was a town, an unincorporated town. I didn't even know what that meant, coming from New England, where everything was incorporated in the 1700s, and here it is in the 1990s, and it's unincorporated. But we just made such a difference in that community in building better facilities, bringing people together to work on projects. And so that started, and that's when I met Dixie and learned that I was here to build better communities. I went on from the chamber, and I was asked to facilitate some very huge projects in which involved 5 Native American tribes and 7 federal agencies, and along with Pacific Gas and Electric. And sitting at the table as the facilitator of bringing that together and having groups that all went like this, it was their fault, never looking inward, and building over the years a tremendous successful project of community being built and communities, the Native American communities being recognized for their time and their being there first before that their lands were taken away from them.
Right.
And how do we recognize that? So it was a pretty big project. And so I'm like, okay, I'm doing my community building. I'm doing what my earthwork is. And along the same lines, I'm teaching and I'm helping other people. Who's grabbing my toes? Who's grabbing my toes? And so it was really special. And from that, so then I worked on watershed issues throughout the Central Valley of California in areas bigger than New England, and with 45, 50 partners, and teaching them how to speak to each other nicely. Teaching them that you could disagree, but you could be nice. And I still get phone calls from a wonderful friend that said, we invoked your rule today. We could disagree, but we had to be nice. So all it takes so we can hear each other. It's really important to be able to hear each other. And for my gift back to the universe for the work I was doing as a facilitator, I began offering my classes for free and programs for people to come to, and I called it New Directions. How do you find a new place to go? What are you going to do? Are you going to go back to school? Are you going to move? Are you going to leave a situation? Are you going to change jobs? And offering that space at no cost, because those who came at that time could not afford it. And that was only, I needed to give that gift back to the universe. And then I moved back to New England and up to where I am now. And I was working small groups, and one day I was at a gathering, and 3 people at the gathering said, you need to start teaching adults. You need to start having classes. And I said, okay, what, where, and when? Within 2 mornings, I was offered a space to have it in. And shortly thereafter, within days, every morning I woke up at 4 o'clock downloading for 2 or 3 hours into my computer exactly how the classes should be taught. And so when we're there and when we're ready, guidance will be ready with you. They're going to allow you to open up and share their information with you. And again, that's where meditation is important, so that they can download those new messages. As we get rid of the old, the new can come in. But if you don't get rid of the old stuff, the old blockages, the old life stuff, the new messages can't come in as clearly.
Right.
Okay?
So that's a powerful way for us to see that as healers, it isn't just I'm doing my healing work now. You've really been able to incorporate it into every aspect of your life as you've gone along.
And what I've watched is if you're coming in with your spiritual gifts, you also still have earth lessons. Your spiritual lessons and your earth lessons. And what I like to convey, if you're looking at a set of stairs, and if you're only doing your spiritual work, and you're only going up that stairs with your left foot, at some point you're doing a split, and at some point you're going to slide down those stairs and hit your butt on the floor.
Right.
If you're only doing your earth work, you go up and up and up, slide down. But if you do your earth work and your spiritual work, step by step together, you can just go so much further balanced. That's a really important thing to be, is balanced in this process.
Right. So you've been offering these classes, these metaphysical classes in our community for some time. When you stepped out, offering that, and that's a very big way to, you're making this known that you're going to offer these classes. What was the response from the people around you who maybe weren't aware of these things? And if there was any negativity, how did you handle it effectively?
First off, there wasn't any negativity. Mm-hmm. The person that offered the space to me was very open to what we were doing. I submitted an article to the local newspaper, and I called it New Directions, Classes Are Starting. And when I opened the newspaper to see if the article was there, it said metaphysical classes are starting. I went to the gal who was running the classes and I said, so, are you ready to come out of the metaphysical closet? Because we just came out. It's already in the headlines. So you and I are out. Not one person, no one I know, has made a comment about it. And what I've learned is, as we may express something, their mind and their brain are only going to process what they can take in. And so if people read it, they may have read it as classes, but it didn't make sense. There's been a few people, I've taught a little bit of numerology, and people say, whoa, doesn't the church say numbers? No, I don't get into that. This is about who you are, and it's just a helpful tool, one more helpful tool. But there was no negativity, and then the person who offered me the space, and I'd been in this community 10 years when I started the classes, and she said, well, no one knows you. How are we going to fill up the classes? The class was full to the brim from day one, and it continues to be so. And one of the things I've done since the beginning is to offer scholarships, because it's not just the rich that need to grow and heal. Everyone needs it. And so as my gift, again, back to the universe, at least a third of my class is offered a scholarship. And I will continue to do that. Because we all need it. It just shouldn't be selective. So I love being able to give back to the community in that respect.
Wow, that's very
But there's never been, I've never, ever,
no negativity.
No negativity.
So that really encourages those of us who are feeling scared to step out, that when it's time, and you know it's time, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, I had a client, and I was working on him, and I do a lot of angel work in my Reiki healings. And I was standing, and this gentleman, and I could feel this huge angel standing on his right shoulder, and I said that, wow, you have this awesome angel on your right shoulder. And he said, oh, that's the shoulder that hurts. I said, oh, but there's an angel. No, that's the shoulder that hurts. That's all he could hear. That's all that he was going to accept. And our brains all process everything differently. And so his brain edited that part out. Mm-hmm. And so you're not going to climb a mountain and stand in front of a bunch of crazy people and say, this is what I do. You're going to trust. You're also going to ask your heart, can I trust this person? Can I trust this information? But as healers and as teachers, we should not go out and tell people what we should do. I walked with a friend for 3 years and never talked about what I did until one day she said, oh, I go to this chiropractor and the animals come in and they just know what to do. I just want to be able to do that. And she said, I said, well, I can teach you that. She says, what do you mean? I said, I can teach you that. Well, what do you mean? And then I explained to her what I did. She goes, I've known you for 3 years. I didn't know you did that. But it wasn't my place to go and flaunt it or throw it at her. When she was ready, when you're ready, the teacher will appear. When you're as a teacher ready, your students will appear. It really does happen that way.
Wow, that's so
it could be in the hairdresser's shop. It could be, at the gas station. It doesn't. And you don't have to heal groups. Many of you may be here to heal one person at a time. Okay.
So that's really, really powerful for us to take away from this interview, especially. So I know you did mention the angel work along with your Reiki sessions, and I want to get into that. So the question that I had written down, and I just want to read this one to you because I want to make sure we cover this. How do we work with our angels? If we are pagan or we simply don't follow a Christian path, can we still work with these energies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was raised Catholic. I walked out of the Catholic Church in my 20s, so disgusted with the church. I remember being told I was going to hell because I held my fingers this way in church. I didn't care. I figured all my friends were going to meet me there, so what the heck. Since that time, to me, there is no hell. There is only goodness in life after we leave here. We all have, they can be angels, they can be spirits, they can be guides, they can be totems. It's whatever you're comfortable communicating with. And what I was told this morning as I was getting ready for coming over here was that many of us have carried the term that we want to use and where we are now from a previous lifetime. And that's the energies that feel the most comfortable with you. And what I've learned is, okay, I leave out the priest. I've learned to let them go. Not learned, I got rid of them because I know that whoever I speak to, spirit, I call it, universe or spirit, is there to help me. And I remember taking a really long bike ride when I was going through my divorce process. And in that bike ride, I suddenly just started processing backwards in my life and recognizing that somebody was there to make sure I was in the right house when I rented a house. I was in the right community, that I had good friends that were supportive. I started going backwards saying, wow, it wasn't just me that I ended up, because I moved cross country a couple of times, a lot of times. But somebody was there, somebody was overseeing, somebody was opening doors for me, and whoever that was. And when I started teaching the classes out west, and I was taking classes from Dixie at the time, and she was teaching us auras, and I'm seeing all these energies going, okay, this is this aura, this is this aura. Well, after one night in my class, after class, this wonderful woman in class who shared that night, she lost her sister, her best friend, and her brother all in 1 year when she was 21 years old, and shared the pain of that and how she'd been upset for over almost 20 years. So that night, several students asked if they could stay after class and practice aura work, and I said, no problem. So taking turns, and it was now her turn to sit in the chair. And when she sat in the chair, suddenly I can see 3 energies, absolute incredible energies, standing behind her. And I'm like rubbing my eyes, I'm like this is, they're moving. And then the male energy went around, sat on her lap, crossed his legs, and said, tell her to talk to us. And I looked at the people next to me on my left and went, nobody else is moving. I looked at the people on my right, and nobody else was reacting. And I hear this voice again say, tell her to talk to us. And I'm like, I pointed to my chest going, yes, tell her to talk to us. I'm like, okay, I'm going crazy tonight. So I said to the student, how about if you just talk to your sister, your brother, and your best friend for the next couple of weeks, whether it's in a dream, whether it's in a, just talking out loud, somehow start talking to them. When she came back 2 weeks later, she said, I have Vincent at my feet, so don't mind me. Hi, would you like to be on camera? And you'll be on camera? Hi. And I said to her, she came into class and she said, you won't believe what's happened. Absolutely won't believe what happened. She said, my sister came and she showed me in a dream that we were on the same road, and that I was on the sidewalk and I was going uphill, and he's fine. I don't mind. My student was going uphill, and while her sister was going down the middle of the road from pothole to pothole to pothole, and each pothole was deeper and deeper, and showing her how uncomfortable her sister was in her life, and then she understood why her sister left. Then her friend came in and showed her the same, what their life was like versus hers, as with her brother. And she then was able to start processing those losses. She'd not celebrated a Christmas holiday with her family in that 20 years and with her children and everything. And 5 years after that class, she wrote me a note, and she said she had her first Christmas and how special it was to her, that she finally let go of this anger after over 20 years of carrying it, and taking it personally, because death so many times is worse than divorce because it's the ultimate rejection. But I like to tell my classes, your opinions of me are none of my business, and the same thing with them leaving. It's not about you, it's about them and what they're experiencing in this lifetime. So that was for me what I called angels at the time. And then I've learned, okay, guides or spirits. And I have so many clients that come in with all kinds of animals, whales and porpoises, and other people truly need what feels appropriate to them. And I just honor that. It's not my way or their way. It's what feels right to the person and to the client. I practiced seeing angels with my best friends, so nobody would put me in the Lulu house, because I didn't know what I was experiencing, and I wasn't learning this from Dixie. This was a totally outside the box. I started laughing, realizing I'd been seeing angels or energies for probably over 2 years. But my mind kept saying it was ours, and that's why it's really important to go to our heart. And so after that, I'm practicing with my friends, and I learned, okay, if I'm working, let's say I'm working with Racine right now, and she disappears, in the beginning I went, oh my God, is this person going to die? Oh, no. I learned she's stepping on the other side of the veil. And disappears, and she's truly communicating with her spirits. So it was a process, and all of us have different skills and different gifts that we've been given. So practice it on the people you can trust, and you'll start to learn. Then I just learned the different not technical, but senses or reasons for things happening. And that was important for me to be able to learn and understand just by practicing. Didn't charge anybody, just had fun with it. And then I was told I was going to do Reiki angels. And I'm like, the person's going, I don't know what I mean by this, but this is what you're going to do. And I ended up, I had hands-on healing training with Dixie. I took that and did a Reiki class, became a Reiki master, combined that with my hands-on healing, and then my angels show up, or guides or spirits show up. So it doesn't make any difference what it is. And like I said, this morning I was told by guidance, it's whatever you in all your lives are the most comfortable with knowing.
Right.
And I say most people have an average of 7 or 8 guides or spirits around them. A lot of you have little ones, pets that have passed on, that have come with you from this lifetime or previous lifetimes. So sometimes if you feel something sitting on your foot, it is. I've also, Dixie's guidance was Samuel, and he comes to me through different clients. He's also very, very connected to, with my husband. But I was in an outdoor cafe in California, and all of a sudden I could feel somebody sitting on my lap. I mean, literally sitting on my lap. And I'm like, to my husband, there's somebody sitting on my lap. And then I went, okay, what's the message? And the message was, there was going to be a car that could kill us or be in a very serious accident. Please be very careful driving today. And sure enough, at an intersection, a merge off the highway, this car came from the inside around, but I was prepared, I was knowing, I was watchful. So I was laughing. I'm like, if I told someone else on the sidewalk someone was sitting on my lap. But so we need to be discerning. We need to be discerning with who we share with. You ask your heart, it will tell you whether you can or not. But you'll also hear common words, but not to be concerned whether you call it an angel, a spirit, a totem, whatever it is. Just it's yours, and just know that you are never ever alone ever again. That's what's really important to know, that they're with you. I get mad at them. I love to start my day with, it's going to be a simple, easy, smooth day today, and a couple hours into the day something's not going right, and I go, excuse me, did we not hear simple, easy, and smooth? And there's a chuckle. It's okay to ask. It's okay to ask for help. You need to give all your spirit guides permission to be with you every day, 24/7. They cannot step in until you do that. That is important. That is, and they're there to protect you. They're there to help you. They can yell out and get your attention when it's dangerous, but other than that, you have to give them permission before they can be with you on a regular basis. Okay?
And that's as simple as just communicating.
Just saying. Once in your life, all you have to say is, hey, spirit guides, please be with me 24/7 for the rest of my life.
Right.
You've opened that door, and that's what's important.
So, last question, and then I want you to share how people can get in touch with you. Is there anything you feel drawn by spirit or guidance to share with the group who's watching this today, or do you feel that we've kind of covered some good starting points?
I think we have some good starting points, and if they have specific questions, they can get a hold of me.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else on my notes. Hang on a second. So I think we're good, and I'd be glad to, take their questions and come back again and answer those questions.
Okay. So if they are interested in, having a session with you or taking a look at the classes, where can they go to get in touch with you? What would you recommend?
If you look up Noreen McDonald, New Hampshire, my website will come up. It's noreenmcdonald.com. But if you just type in the bar, that little guy, she's got 2 hands full there. That noreenmcdonald.com or Noreen McDonald NH, and you can get a hold of me that way. My phone number is 603-569-9912, but email's probably the best way.
Probably best, yeah.
And it's Noreen at noreenmcdonald.com is the email. Noreen at NoreenMcDonald.com. McDonald.com.
And I will be sure to have that website link in the link below for the video. So if you weren't able to write that down, don't worry about that. It's going to be in the link for you. So thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us, Noreen.
This is great.
Thank you for
She's
sharing
awesome.
your journey.
I love this lady. We are just so blessed to have her in all of our lives. So have a great day.
Thank you.
Trust, and pop your crown chakra. Help keeps things clear.
Goodbye.